I'll start off very positive. I don't know why, but the title music this time really hit me. I don't know why, but the beginning music was excellent. I really felt it. And it was a nice lead in because the first third of the episode was, I think, fairly strong. And I did appreciate the slowing of the pace, going through the rituals, and the sea theme, I think, was tied very well with the major characters and Lenore and others, and the slow pace was fine at the first third. Damon, characteristically, Damon being very mawkish of the whole ceremony, kind of foreshadowing that, yeah, it's all going to collapse. And Viserys trying to keep everything together, maintaining what's possible with this piece. Okay, it's all good, very good character moments. Cinematography was excellent. The costumes are really strong. The wigs keep persisting as an issue, but it is what it is. But this time I genuinely felt, okay, we finally feel like we're in a real world. This is its own thing. There are nice kind of parallels to the Game of Thrones production, but this was much brighter, which I thought was good because there's going to be a section which was very dark. But it's good that we had a balance with the much more bright scenes at the beginning. Very good stuff. But then starts to drift, no pun intended, because I think the major problem here is the central characters are frankly not very engaging. And I realize that is to some extent the design. We're not supposed to like the Targaryens. We're not supposed to like most of these houses. I understand that. That is the intention, but it just didn't feel well structured. And some of it is that the child actors had to be more central here, and child acting is hard to judge. I actually did like Jake Lloyd in the prequels, and this felt like a big parallel because there's a scene that is very close to the pod racing scene. I don't think they stole it or anything like that, but it felt like pod racing 102. But the problem was the pod racing scene, as much as I don't like it that much in Phantom Menace, I can appreciate it in that it provides a gateway to the cultures and the communities and shows, I think, the better side of George Lucas, like kind of nature documentary work he'd used to do in these early days in the 60s. But here, it's kind of like, it was kind of boring, and I didn't particularly care about the central characters. I'm like, that kid could get hurt. I'm like, good. I hate that kid. Pretty much a stupid bastard. I don't care about that kid. Raising the stakes by saying, oh, but the children could be hurt. I didn't particularly care. I do have some sympathy with the bastard issue now, whereas the last episode, I just didn't particularly feel it made any sense. But here, I did feel emotively connected, but still, at the end of the day, it just wasn't well constructed. It just seemed to me they just inserted a dragon scene for fan service as well as to just make up for the slackening of the narrative. Because when it came to the central issue, I'm going to keep it ambiguous, I'm going to keep it non-spoiler, but we kind of knew when a certain Targaryen is going to meet another Targaryen, and they're going to quote have intercourse. Putting aside whether it was well filmed or not, I just don't feel that these particular actors have much chemistry together. So kind of felt like very boring and meh. And I will say that Alicent is becoming more and more intriguing in the way in her mind she's working through all the moral, strategic dilemmas. For this show to work, both the central characters have to be charismatic enough. You care about their fates, but really it's just Alicent and the minor characters I care about. No pun intended, but Strong was strong. Corlys was also strong. And we get a big twist at the end, which I don't want to speak on that. But even certain small things like Otto basically becoming powerful again, just very sly movements with Damon and his eyes. That was all very good. And a few other things, but for most of these scenes, it just felt kind of slow. We're just drifting. We're just building up to the bigger battle between the greens and the other color. And, I'm like, all right, well, I just didn't care. It just felt with the central people, I didn't care. The side characters were more fascinating, but by definition, we're not supposed to spend a lot of time with them. We can't overuse them. So it really felt like a dilemma they didn't quite solve because I swear to God, I was entertained very much by when it was starting to get to the final scenes and some very big events happen, a lot of violence, but not in the way they intended. I was just laughing. I just found the acting laughable. It was just way too melodramatic. It just felt really overdone. It was really over stylized. And it was very strange the way Viserys, because they just kept to the same physical space. It's like they really literally were in the same room for a long time. It's like, okay, the scene is ending. Nope. They just kept going. And it's just, after a while, I was just like, it was just laughably stupid. I was amazed how laughable it was and just how stupid the whole thing was. I was just like, this is just dumb. Stop it, end it, let's move on. So it just went on for too long. So certain scenes just went on for too long. Certain scenes were needless. The basic gist of what we're doing, I kind of knew that. We just wasted our time. But I will say the ending did do a lot to redeem the whole thing. Now, the final scenes weren't that good, but the final moments were very strong. Not going to give away who was speaking to who, but basically Allison making some interesting Machiavellian moves was, I think, really interesting. And then there's like a kind of final super twist, and I was like, oh, that was really good. I did not predict that at all. But being honest, very strong first third, but then, yeah, a lot of the rest of the two thirds was kind of just drifting along. It was fine, it wasn't bad. Production value is very high. It was engaging enough, but yeah, I just felt like we were really just pushing the pause button again. Another setup episode for the inevitable war, and I just didn't particularly care about the central characters. I just didn't find it engaging. I do find Allison overall more interesting as an actress, and I know I'm going to be accused of being a phobe or phobic or whatever. I think they really did make a bad choice with the actress they picked. I'll just say that. I'll give it one more episode, but yeah, I was fearful they were going to have a kind of charisma vacuum after Millie left, and sure enough, yeah, I just don't care about one of the central actresses. Gonna be nice, not name names, but I'm like, I just don't see it. I don't see why they chose her, but they did. So it's like it's just dragging a lot of the episode, and it was just too melodramatic. They were going for this kind of neo Shakespearean style. It just beyond a certain point, it didn't work for me. Very good, strong start. First third is good. Very excellent work sprinkled throughout the whole episode, and the final moments were very powerful. But I will give this a good score. It's a 7.5, but it did feel just like very strong above average television writing and directing. But given it was Miguel, kind of had higher expectations. So it is what it is. It's a good episode. I do recommend it. Would also urge stay for the final moments. Please be patient. It is worth it, but this could have been a lot stronger. It did feel very slack and just inert in too many places.